The Necronomicon's whispers and dark mists have slept from Alhazred's pen to D's ancient...
All right, so buckle up, everybody, because today we are diving deep into the Necronomicon.
Ooh.
But hold on.
Okay.
Before you start grabbing your, salt and your wording circles and all that, let me just say, we're not actually summoning any Lovecraftian beasties today.
No.
Instead, we're going to be taking a look at this book, The Secret History of the Necronomicon,
Okay.
to try to figure out what's fact, what's fiction,
Right.
and really explore the history behind Lovecraft's infamous creation.
Yeah, that's right. We're going to be looking at, historical sources and archaeological evidence,
Right.
and even some of Lovecraft's own writings to, try to figure out the truth behind this, legendary book.
Yeah, and I think people might be surprised to learn that the Necronomicon's roots really go way deeper than Lovecraft's fiction.
Oh, yeah, way deep.
So, okay, let's set the stage here.
Okay.
We all know Lovecraft's version, the mad Arab Abdul Alhazred,
Yeah.
writes this forbidden tome filled with all these terrifying secrets
Yeah.
about, ancient gods and cosmic horror.
Right.
But what if I told you that the references to the Necronomicon, or at least the ideas that it's based on, appear in texts centuries before Alhazred was even born?
It's true, and that's what's so fascinating about this book is that it presents evidence
Right.
that the seeds of the Necronomicon were planted way before, Alhazred ever even thought about picking up a pen.
Wow.
And it all starts with this Greek historian named Ctesias,
Right.
Ctesias of Cnidus, who traveled to Egypt around 400 BC.
Egypt.
Yeah.
Now we're talking.
Yeah. Pyramids, pharaohs, ancient mysteries.
All right, so what did Ctesias find in Egypt that connects to the Necronomicon?
Well, he documented some very interesting rituals that were being performed by Egyptian priests,
Okay.
particularly the priests who worshiped the god Set.
Great.
And these rituals involved invoking entities with names that are eerily similar to Lovecraftian deities,
Okay.
like Dagon.
Oh, wow.
Even more chilling is that Ctesias records a priest uttering this phrase
Uh-oh.
that I think will send shivers down your spine, "That is not dead, which can eternal lie."
Wait, hold on. That is not dead, which can eternal lie.
Yep.
That's practically a Lovecraftian motto.
Right.
It's like finding a prehistoric fossil of cosmic horror.
It really is.
But okay, so how did these ideas survive for centuries, only to resurface in Alhazred's writings?
Well, that's where the theory of the secret library in Alexandria comes in.
Okay.
So imagine a hidden repository of ancient texts,
Okay.
potentially predating even the Egyptians,
Wow.
filled with knowledge that was considered way too dangerous for, the common folk.
Right.
This library is rumored to have contained accounts of rituals and, invocations of entities with names like Setoka and Cthulhu.
Well, hold on.
Yeah.
Setoka?
Cthulhu.
Those sound very familiar.
Very Lovecraftian, right?
Yeah. So, okay, so secret library filled with forbidden knowledge.
Yes.
All right, you got my attention.
Very good.
So how does Alhazred fit into all of this?
Right.
Was he just some guy who just stumbled upon these ancient texts and decided to plagiarize them, or what?
Well, it's a little bit more nuanced than that.
Okay.
Well, the book does suggest that he might have encountered remnants of this library during his travels. His story is way more complex than that.
Okay.
He wasn't just a scholar.
Mm-hmm.
He was really a seeker of forbidden knowledge.
Right.
He was drawn to the mysteries of the ancient world
Okay.
and the whispers of the desert.
All right, let's talk about Alhazred then.
Okay.
The source book doesn't just present him as a fictional character.
Well,
right?
yes, it doesn't.
It tries to piece together what we actually know about him from historical sources.
Exactly.
Okay.
So the book kind of delves into the historical context surrounding Alhazred,
Right.
separating Lovecraft's embellishments from what we can actually glean from real accounts.
Okay.
So we know that he was born in Sana'a, Yemen,
Okay.
which is a city that's steeped in, ancient lore and surrounded by this vast, mysterious desert.
The desert.
Yeah.
A perfect breeding ground for strange tales and encounters with the unknown. So what kind of childhood did Alhazred have?
Well,
Was he always drawn to the occult?
it seems like he was a very curious child.
Okay.
He was fascinated by the stories and the legends of his homeland.
Mm-hmm.
But it was during his adolescence, when he started venturing out into the desert,
Okay.
that things took a turn for the strange.
Uh-oh.
He started hearing voices,
Oh, no.
whispers carried on the desert wind.
Okay.
And these weren't just any voices.
Right.
These were the whispers of what the book calls night demons.
Ooh, spooky.
Yeah.
Were these like demons with horns and pitchforks or something a little bit more Lovecraftian?
Well, the book actually gives us the Arabic term for these entities.
Okay.
It's Yelek Isha, which roughly translates to speakers to night demons.
Whoa. Okay.
So think about these beings that claim to have once ruled vast areas of the earth,
Wow.
but now are confined to these desolate places like the deserts and the oceans.
Okay.
They're like jinn or desert spirits, powerful entities with ancient knowledge and a connection to the unseen realms.
So not your typical fire and brimstone demons.
Right.
But something older, more primal, and deeply connected to the earth itself.
Yeah.
That definitely fits with the Lovecraftian theme.
It does.
So how did young Alhazred handle these encounters? Did he just lose his mind talking to these night demons?
Well, that's where the Alaqua Amstoin come into play. So
Who are they?
this was a secretive brotherhood of individuals who were known as the Listeners,
Okay.
and they dedicated themselves to protecting and interpreting ancient and often forbidden knowledge.
Okay.
They took Alhazred under their wing,
Interesting.
and they taught him how to navigate these very dangerous encounters with the night demons.
The listeners.
Yeah.
They sound like a crucial piece of the puzzle here.
Yeah.
It's like they were the gatekeepers of ancient secrets, guiding those who dared to delve into, the mysteries of the unknown.
Exactly. And what's so fascinating about this group is that they believed that certain knowledge was way too dangerous to be written down.
Oh, really?
So they were the keepers of an oral tradition,
Wow.
passing down their wisdom through generations by word of mouth
Interesting.
and making sure that it only reached those who were deemed worthy and capable of handling it.
So they were like a secret society of knowledge protectors almost,
Yeah, you could say that.
safeguarding humanity from these potentially catastrophic secrets.
Right.
But why all the secrecy?
Yeah.
What made their knowledge so dangerous?
Right.
And how does this connect to the creation of the Necronomicon?
That's a great question, and it leads us right into Alhazred's travels and his eventual break with the Listeners.
Ooh, okay.
He embarks on these extensive journeys,
Okay.
seeking out lost knowledge and ancient sites.
Okay.
And he's driven by this thirst for understanding
Mhm.
that eventually leads him to betray the very brotherhood that guided him.
Oh, this is getting good.
Yeah.
Sounds like Alhazred was a bit of a rebel,
Yeah, a little bit.
pushing the boundaries of what the listeners deemed safe.
Yeah.
So where did his travels take him?
All right.
And how did he end up breaking with the listeners?
Tell me more.
We'll have to save that for next time.
Ooh, cliffhanger.
I know.
I know. All right, well, listeners, make sure you tune in for the next part of our deep dive,
Yes.
where we'll uncover more of the story of Alhazred and the Necronomicon.
We'll pick up right where we left off.
Absolutely.
Here we are again in the dark side of the Necronomicon. As I said before, it's not obligatory for every Chaos Magic practitioner, but for those who use Necronomicon, it's very important. Not because it's good or not because it's bad, but because it's both of them. The duality have a little space right here. So when you deal with Chaos Magic, it's very important you know about Necronomicon. So for those who follow Necronomicon, it's important to know the history around this book. This book may be a fiction. This book may be true. Maybe John Dee made this book long before H.P. Lovecraft. But it's not important as what you will reach with that content. So we follow this path. Here in
Chaos Magic Time.
Welcome back to our deep dive into the Necronomicon. Last time we left off with Alhazred, guided by these secretive listeners, and he's starting to kind of explore the ancient world.
That's right. He's about to embark on this journey.
Yeah,
It's going to take him to some of the most legendary locations in history,
absolutely.
places shrouded in mystery and, rumored to hold the keys to unlocking the Necronomicon's secrets.
Exactly. And the source book highlights two cities in particular,
Okay.
Memphis in Egypt and Babylon in Mesopotamia.
These were, ancient cities known for their rich history and their connections to, powerful deities and, of course, whispers of forbidden knowledge.
So we have Alhazred fueled by his encounters with the night demons.
Right.
And the teachings of the listeners, he's setting off to uncover the truth behind these ancient whispers.
Yeah,
What was he looking for in these cities?
right.
Did he think he would just, like, find the Necronomicon sitting in some dusty old library?
Not exactly. The source book suggests that he wasn't searching for a specific book,
Okay.
but rather for pieces of a puzzle,
Okay.
fragments of knowledge scattered across time and space.
Interesting.
So in Memphis, he may have been drawn to the remnants of that secret Alexandrian library we
Right.
talked about.
That was rumored to have been moved to Memphis
Exactly.
when the original one in Alexandria was destroyed.
Right. He might have been following the trail of those lost texts,
Okay.
hoping to uncover the secrets they held.
Gotcha. And then in Babylon, what was he doing there?
Well, this is where it gets even more interesting. The book argues that he may have used a technique called ka travel to experience the city in a bygone era.
Hold on, ka travel.
Yeah.
You're saying that he time traveled.
Well, not in the, typical science fiction sense.
Ah.
Ka travel is rooted in ancient Egyptian beliefs.
Okay.
The ka is essentially the soul or the spirit,
Right.
and the book proposes that skilled practitioners could send their ka back in time
Whoa.
to witness historical events.
So if the source book is right, Alhazred could have, like, used his spirit to travel back in time
Potentially.
and experience ancient Babylon firsthand.
That's the idea.
That's incredible. But why Babylon? What was he hoping to find there?
The source book suggests that he was seeking knowledge about a primordial entity called Yog-Sothoth.
Yog-Sothoth.
Yeah.
That's a major player in the Lovecraftian universe.
Big time.
So Alhazred may have been trying to learn about this entity,
Right.
maybe even how to contact it or control its power or something.
It's possible.
But this is all speculation, right?
Yeah. Well, of course, we're dealing with, fragments of history,
Right.
whispers of ancient rituals,
Right.
interpretations of Alhazred's, own cryptic writings.
Gotcha.
But the source book does do a remarkable job of piecing together, a compelling narrative
Yeah.
that connects these seemingly, disparate elements into this fascinating whole.
So we've got Memphis, Babylon, Ka travel, Yog-Sothoth.
Mm-hmm.
It's like we're building a bridge between ancient history and Lovecraftian mythos.
Absolutely.
But Alhazred's journey doesn't end there.
No, it doesn't.
He disappears for a whole decade in the Rubal Khali Desert.
Yes, 10 years in the empty quarter.
10 years.
One of the most desolate and unforgiving places on Earth.
And what was he doing there for a decade?
It makes you wonder, right? Was he further communing with the night demons?
Right.
Seeking out hidden oases of knowledge?
Wow.
I mean, the possibilities are, both tantalizing and terrifying.
I bet those 10 years were crucial in shaping his understanding of the ancient world. And, these hidden forces.
Yeah.
He really starts to kind of connect the dots there to see the patterns that are going to lead him to create the Necronomicon.
Exactly. And when he emerges from the desert,
Yeah.
he's a changed man.
Right.
He returns to Damascus not so much as a scholar, but as a prophet of sorts.
Okay.
Sharing these tales of, mind-bending experiences that challenge the very foundations of reality.
So he goes from student of the listeners to being a challenger to their beliefs.
Yeah.
Almost.
Yeah.
Claiming to have seen things that they might have dismissed as just legends.
Exactly. He talks about, walking on the plateau of Leng,
Okay.
witnessing the city of the old ones beneath the Antarctic ice,
Whoa.
swimming with the children of Dagon.
He went full Lovecraft.
He did.
So how did the listeners react to all this?
Well,
Did they believe him?
it seems like there was a growing tension between Alhazred and the listeners.
Okay.
They had taught him to respect the power of this ancient knowledge, to guard it carefully.
To never underestimate its potential for both good and evil.
But after his experiences in the desert, Alhazred maybe felt that the knowledge shouldn't be kept hidden,
Right.
that it needed to be shared, even if it meant challenging the listener's authority.
Exactly. And that seems to be, the crux of the conflict here.
Okay.
His time in the Rubal Khali, his encounters with the night demons, his glimpses into these hidden realms, it all led him to believe that the listeners were wrong to suppress this knowledge.
So what did he do?
Well,
Did he try to convince them to change their ways? Or did he just decide to take matters into his own hands?
I think you know what's coming.
I have a feeling this is where the Necronomicon finally enters the picture.
It does. Alhazred, driven by this conviction that, the world needed to know the truth. No matter the cost, makes this, fateful decision.
Yeah.
He breaks with the listeners, defying their, centuries-old tradition. And he commits their secret knowledge to writing. He went rogue.
He did.
I can only imagine how the listeners felt about this.
Yeah, they were not happy.
They dedicated their lives to protecting these secrets. And now Alhazred was just going to put it all in a book for anyone to read.
The source book makes it clear that this was seen as the ultimate act of sacrilege.
Wow.
He wasn't just sharing knowledge, he
right.
was unleashing forces that they believed could unravel the very fabric of reality.
But wait, didn't you say that the Necronomicon was called something else originally?
I did. His book was originally titled Al-Azif,
Okay.
which roughly translates to the buzzing of insects.
Hello.
And the book explains that this title was meant to evoke the sound of demons whispering in the desert.
The buzzing of insects.
Yeah.
That's a creepy title.
It is.
It definitely sets the tone for the kind of knowledge that's in there.
Yeah.
So what happened to Alhazred after he wrote the book?
Wow.
Did he become some kind of, a cult celebrity sharing his newfound wisdom with the world?
Unfortunately for Alhazred, his act of defiance had some dire consequences.
Okay.
The listeners, enraged by his betrayal,
Mhm.
determined to, contain the spread of this dangerous knowledge,
Okay.
they sought to silence him permanently.
Okay. I have a bad feeling about this.
Yeah.
Did they try to reason with him, or did they go for a more drastic solution?
The book describes a gruesome end for Alhazred. According to their account, the listeners, using their knowledge of, ancient rituals and their connections to powerful entities, they summoned a djinn to eliminate him in broad daylight in a bustling marketplace.
No.
This djinn devoured Alhazred in this horrifying spectacle.
Wow.
It was a very stark warning to anyone who dared to follow his path.
Devoured by a djinn in public.
Yeah.
That's a serious message. They weren't messing around.
They were not.
But what about the book? What happened to the Al-Azif? Did they manage to destroy it?
That's where the story takes a turn. Despite Alhazred's demise,
Okay.
the Al-Azif lived on. Copies had already been made,
Okay.
and they began to circulate,
Oh,
attracting the attention of scholars, occultists,
Mhm.
anyone seeking forbidden knowledge.
So even in death, he couldn't be silenced.
Nope,
His book, his legacy continued to spread
it did.
like seeds scattered by the wind.
Yeah, and this is where the Al-Azif begins its journey across time and continents,
Right.
eventually becoming the Necronomicon that we know today.
This is incredible.
I know.
We've gone from ancient Egyptian rituals to a secret society of knowledge protectors, from time travel to djinn,
Yeah.
and now we're about to see how the Al-Azif transformed into the Necronomicon
It's a wild ride.
and began its journey across the globe.
Yeah,
This is exciting stuff.
I know.
Here we are again in the dark side of the Necronomicon. As I said before, it's not obligatory for every Chaos Magic practitioner, but for those who use Necronomicon, it's very important. Not because it's good or not because it's bad, but because it's both of them. The duality have a little space right here. So when you deal with Chaos Magic, it's very important you know about Necronomicon. So for those who follow Necronomicon, it's important to know the history around this book. This book may be a fiction. This book may be true. Maybe John Dee made this book long before H.P. Lovecraft. But it's not important as what you will reach with that content. So we follow this path. Here in...
All right, so welcome back to our deep dive into the Necronomicon.
Yes,
We've journeyed from ancient Egypt to the bustling markets of Damascus,
we have.
followed Alhazred's path from, curious student to defiant rebel. And now, his book, The Al-Azif, is out in the world, ready to begin its transformation into the infamous Necronomicon.
Exactly. And the source book takes us to Constantinople, the heart of the Byzantine Empire,
Okay.
where the Al-Azif undergoes a pretty significant change. It's here that a scholar named Theodorus Philetus translates the book into Greek
Oh, okay.
and gives it a new title, the Necronomicon.
So the name we all know.
Yeah.
The one that sends shivers down our spines.
Right.
Necronomicon that comes from this Greek translation.
It does.
What does it even mean?
Well, the book translates it as Book of Dead Names.
Book of Dead Names.
Yeah, pretty ominous in itself.
Right.
A lot of ancient cultures believed that knowing the true name of a person, deity, or even a demon granted you power over them.
So a book filled with the names of powerful, potentially otherworldly entities?
Exactly.
That's a recipe for trouble, right?
Yeah.
No wonder the listeners were so determined to keep this knowledge hidden.
Exactly, and the source book suggests that Philetus's translation sparked a renewed interest in occult practices in Constantinople.
Oh?
You know, some people were genuinely seeking knowledge, but others saw it as a way to gain power
Right.
or to exploit the book's reputation for their own personal gain.
It's like that saying, right? A little knowledge is a dangerous thing.
It is.
And in the case of the Necronomicon, that seems to be especially true.
It really does.
So what happened when people started experimenting with the knowledge in this book?
Well, let's just say it wasn't pretty. The source book mentions several instances of individuals attempting to summon entities or perform rituals based on the Necronomicon's contents,
Oh.
and often with disastrous results.
Yep.
There's even an account of a botched summoning that led to the destruction of an entire district in Constantinople.
We'll talk about unintended consequences.
Yeah.
It seems like the Necronomicon has a way of punishing those who approach it with the wrong intentions.
It does.
So what happened after that?
Right.
Did the authorities try to suppress the book?
They did. The patriarch, the head of the Eastern Orthodox Church, was none too pleased about the chaos the book had unleashed.
Right.
He ordered all copies to be destroyed,
Right.
and he excommunicated anyone caught with the Necronomicon.
Makes sense. Can't have people going around summoning ancient evils and disrupting the peace.
Exactly.
So was the Necronomicon effectively wiped out at this point?
Well, not quite. The source book suggests that some copies survived,
Okay.
hidden away by, individuals who saw the book as a symbol of power or defiance against the church.
Okay.
And it's one of these hidden copies that sets the stage for the next chapter in the Necronomicon's journey.
Oh, okay. So we have these surviving copies hidden away from the prying eyes of the church.
Yes.
Where do they go from here?
Right.
How does the Necronomicon make its way out of Constantinople and into the wider world?
This is where the story takes a turn towards the epic. The source book introduces us to a group of disillusioned Knights Templar.
Right, the ones with the cool white cloaks and red crosses.
Yeah,
What do they have to do with the Necronomicon?
So after a major defeat in the Holy Land, a group of these Templars went rogue.
Oh, okay.
They headed back to Constantinople.
Okay.
And they'd heard whispers of this powerful book,
Right.
one that could potentially help them reclaim the Holy Land
Wow.
and restore their lost glory.
The Necronomicon.
Yeah.
They saw it as a potential weapon.
That seems so.
That's a bold move, considering the church had just condemned the book.
Yeah, it was a risky gamble, for sure.
Yeah.
But the Templars were known for their interest in esoteric knowledge.
Right.
They'd already encountered Kabbalah and other mystical traditions during their crusades.
Okay.
Some historians even believe that the Templars' early success was tied to their pact with a demon called Baphomet.
Okay, now we're getting into some serious conspiracy theory territory here.
Yeah.
The Knights Templar, a demonic pact, and the Necronomicon.
It's a lot to unpack, I know.
This is incredible.
Yeah.
So did they find what they were looking for in Constantinople?
They did. The source book details how the Templars, using their considerable wealth and influence, managed to obtain 3 copies of the Necronomicon.
3 copies?
Yeah.
That's a lot of forbidden knowledge.
It is.
What do they do with them?
Well, the source book doesn't go into detail about, how they used the Necronomicon,
Okay.
but it does trace the journey of these 3 copies.
Okay.
So one went to Spain,
Right.
entrusted to a Templar who was hoping to regain the favor of his brethren.
Okay.
The other 2 ended up in Basel, Switzerland,
Okay.
which was a center of learning at the time.
So Necronomicon is now spreading across Europe,
Right.
carried by these rogue Templars who are clearly not afraid to dabble in forbidden knowledge.
Yeah.
what happens next?
Well, the Templar Order was eventually disbanded in the early 1300s.
Right.
And their vast holdings, including their libraries, were seized.
Okay.
Many of their books, likely including the Necronomicon, ended up in the collections of these newly established universities throughout Europe.
So the Necronomicon went from the hands of these warrior monks to the hallowed halls of academia.
It's an interesting journey, isn't it?
What a journey. Did the scholars recognize the book for what it was?
It's likely that many didn't, at least not initially. The book was written in Greek, and it probably took some time before scholars began translating it into more, widely understood languages.
Okay.
But as more translations appeared, the true nature of the Necronomicon started to become clear.
And that brings us to one of the most intriguing figures in the Necronomicon's history.
Yes.
Dr. John Dee,
Yes.
advisor to Queen Elizabeth I and a prominent scholar of both science and the occult.
Yeah, he was a true Renaissance man.
He really was. So Dr. Dee gets his hands on a copy of the Necronomicon. What's his game plan?
Well,
Was he hoping to use it to advise the Queen on matters of state?
right.
Or did he have something else in mind?
I think the source book suggests that his motivations were probably pretty complex. He was undoubtedly interested in the knowledge contained within the book,
Right.
but he also may have seen it as a potential tool for, strengthening England's power and expanding, their growing empire.
It's like a 16th century arms race,
Yeah,
but with ancient magic instead of muskets.
right.
So did Dr. Dee succeed in unlocking the Necronomicon's secrets?
Well, that's where things get a bit murky.
Oh.
The source book reveals that Dee's translation of the Necronomicon was never actually completed.
Oh, really?
And the reason for this might surprise you: betrayal.
Betrayal. Now, this sounds like a good story.
Yeah.
Who dared to cross Dr. Dee?
His own apprentice, a young man named Matthew Lyne.
Okay.
Lyne had become increasingly interested in the darker aspects of the occult,
Oh,
perhaps even influenced by another notorious occultist, Simon Forman.
so this Lyne, he's like the original Necronomicon thief.
Yeah, you could say that.
What did he do? Just steal Dee's notes and make a run for it?
That's exactly what happened. The source book includes excerpts from Dee's diary, where he expresses his outrage and his disappointment over Lyne's actions.
Yeah.
He even compares Lyne to a viper he had unwittingly nurtured.
Ouch. That's gotta sting.
It does.
But what happened to Lyne?
Right.
Did he succeed where Dee had failed?
Right.
Did he unlock the Necronomicon's secrets and become some kind of all-powerful sorcerer?
Well, that's where the story takes an even more intriguing turn.
Okay.
Remember how we talked about the lost colony of Roanoke?
Right. One of history's greatest unsolved mysteries.
Exactly the one that vanished without a trace.
Yeah.
Well, guess who signed up to be part of that colony?
Who?
Matthew E. Lyne.
No way. He took the Necronomicon to the New World.
That's what the source book proposes.
What?
And what's even more intriguing is that while the rest of the Roanoke colonists disappeared,
Right.
there's no record of Lyne among the missing.
Hold on. So he might have survived
Potentially.
with a copy of the Necronomicon
Right.
while the rest of the colony vanished.
Yeah.
Okay. Now I'm starting to think he might have had something to do with their disappearance.
It's a possibility.
Did he summon some ancient entity that wiped out the entire colony?
Well, it's possible. And the source book adds fuel to the fire here
Okay.
by mentioning a man named Matthias Levine, who was banished from the Jamestown colony a few years later
Okay.
for practicing sorcery and consorting with, spirits of this new land.
Wait a minute. Matthew E. Lyne, Matthias Levine.
Yeah,
It's the same guy. Our Necronomicon thief has resurfaced.
it seems so.
Wow.
Right? It seems like Lyne may have just changed his name
Okay.
and continued his occult pursuits in the New World.
Hey.
And this time he ends up in Rhode Island, a haven for those seeking religious freedom.
So what did he do in Rhode Island?
Well,
Did he continue his forbidden experiments?
surprisingly, he became a respected figure in the colony.
Really?
He helped establish the town of Providence, and he even negotiated with Native American tribes.
Hold on. The guy who was banished from Jamestown for sorcery became a pillar of the community in Rhode Island.
It's an interesting twist.
That's a pretty impressive turnaround.
It is.
So it seems like Lyne, despite his interest in the occult, was also a skilled negotiator, scholar,
Right.
and all-around helpful citizen.
Yeah.
But of course, the rumors persisted about his strange practices
Of course.
and his possible connections to the Necronomicon.
Yeah.
This is incredible. We've gone from ancient Egypt to the founding of America.
It's a long journey.
And the Necronomicon has been there every step of the way,
It has.
influencing events in ways we can only imagine.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it?
It does. And the story doesn't end there.
No, it doesn't.
Remember Ulysses Wormius?
Yeah.
The scholar who translated the Necronomicon into Latin and German?
Yeah.
Well, one of his German translations ended up in the hands of King Ludwig II of Bavaria,
Oh, wow.
the Mad King, famous for his extravagant castles.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
King Ludwig II, the fairy tale king.
Oh.
What does he have to do with the Necronomicon?
Well, the source book suggests that Ludwig's encounter with the Necronomicon may have contributed to his mental decline.
Oh, wow.
Imagine a young king
Yeah.
raised with a sense of absolute power,
Right.
and suddenly he's confronted with these cosmic horrors
Right.
that dwarfs even his earthly kingdom.
Yeah, that might shatter anyone's
It
worldview.
would.
Does Ludwig actually try to use the Necronomicon for anything?
Wow.
Did he build those amazing castles as some kind of defense against the ancient evils described in the book?
Well, the book includes a letter Ludwig wrote to his tutor where
Yeah.
he expresses this concern about an ancient evil lurking beneath his castle. He even mentions the Totennamen,
Okay.
or dead names, from the Necronomicon.
It's like he was trying to be some kind of guardian against these ancient forces,
Yeah.
using his wealth and power to hold back the darkness.
It's an interesting interpretation.
It is.
And it kind of adds another layer to the Necronomicon's legacy, you know. It's not just a book of forbidden knowledge.
Right.
It's a catalyst for both ambition and madness.
Wow.
A mirror reflecting our deepest fears and desires.
So follow the Necronomicon's journey from ancient Arabia to the New World,
We have.
seeing how it's influenced history,
Yeah.
inspired fear and ambition,
Listen.
and driven some to madness.
It's a wild ride.
But where is the book now?
Right.
Does it still exist?
That's the ultimate question. The source book mentions several existing copies,
Okay.
including one at Widener Library at Harvard,
Okay.
and another that was, sold by a rare book library in Argentina.
Wow.
But, access to these texts is usually restricted to serious scholars and researchers.
And even then there are challenges.
Yeah.
The book discusses the difficulty of transcribing and reproducing these old, fragile texts.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, there's the persistent rumor that powerful forces are actively suppressing the Necronomicon's widespread publication,
Right.
keeping its knowledge hidden from the masses.
Yeah. The captivating thought, isn't it?
It is.
That some knowledge is just too powerful
Right.
for ordinary people to handle.
So what does this all mean?
Yeah.
What's the takeaway from our deep dive into the Necronomicon's history?
Well, for me, it highlights the enduring power of ideas.
Yeah.
Even those that seem, fantastical or terrifying. The Necronomicon, whether, purely fictional or inspired by some kernel of truth,
Right.
has captured the imagination for generations,
It has.
influencing literature, film art,
Right.
and even our understanding of history itself.
It makes you wonder, doesn't it? What if the true power of the Necronomicon lies not in its ability to summon ancient evils,
Right.
but in its ability to make us question the boundaries of our reality,
That's a good
to
question.
confront the vastness of the unknown, and grapple with the very nature of knowledge itself?
Yeah, that's definitely a question worth pondering,
Sure.
one that I think each listener can explore for themselves.
Absolutely.
The Necronomicon may be a book shrouded in mystery and legend, but its story continues to unfold,
Right.
inviting us to delve deeper into the mysteries that surround us.
Absolutely.
Who knows what other secrets are waiting to be uncovered?
That's right. And on that note, listeners, thank you so much for joining us for this deep dive into the Necronomicon.
Yes, thank you for listening.
We'll see you next time.
Gaze, a grimoire of madness set the world ablaze. From Egypt's lost scrolls to the Templar's quest, the path to the truth is a dangerous test. Through the hands of the ancients and the secrets they wrote, the knowledge still lingers like a ship without hope. The pages are burning yet the truth stays concealed. The more that you search, the less it is revealed. The history's in between madness and light.